Great presentation, Robin. Thank you very much. Really enjoyed that and really enjoyed all the great comments and questions in the YouTube and Twitch chats. So thanks to everybody for your involvement. Robin should be in the Discord channel, voice channel, take questions. I'll pop in there in a minute. But first, I wanted to introduce our next speaker. I have known Paul Orlando for a number of years, and he has also been instrumental in getting a lot of folks into this industry. His students are at High Res, at Tripwire, at Ubisoft, many places now. And now he's been working on the Roblox project. And for those of you who don't realize it, this is one of the biggest, most successful platforms out there. I'm looking forward to my daughter, maybe 1 year older, to get her on into it. She's programming in Scratch now. We'll see. But there's been all sorts of great stuff created on this platform for well over a decade. I think they're going into 2 decades now with this. And the fact that it's still so much fun and so engaging and pulling in so many people shows you how a platform can be well run and well created. And I really love what they're doing now with user-generated content. So, Paul, everybody should be able to hear you, so take it away.
Hey, everyone. How you doing? Thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate the compliments, and it's been a pleasure working with you. And also, I'm very happy and ecstatic that you invited me to speak today. I think what I want to start out with is I'll entertain questions after the presentation. The way the presentation is going to work is I'm going to give you just a brief introduction through a PowerPoint presentation of the Roblox UGC Video Star program. That is the part of the program that I work in. I have been working with Roblox for almost 3 years. Just January will be 3 years. I am a contract worker. I started out in Roblox 3 years ago, actually working on assets and characters for their catalog. And then after a year and a half, I moved over to the Roblox UGC Video Star program to assist that program with the Video Star influencers in terms of helping them manage assets, advising on technical considerations for their asset creation, as well as help with the uploading and the implementation of our assets, so the influencers could actually have those on their sites when they do their videos for YouTube and etc. It's been really an exciting time because I got to meet a lot of amazing people at Roblox. My managers and the people I work with are amazing, very supportive, and also it's just actually extremely fun, if you will, to actually help out these influencers and see their creations come to life. Some of these influencers are in the United States, but they also are in other countries like Germany and France and Spain and other parts of the world. So just going to move forward. I'm going to go to the next slide. So my name is Paul Lando, and I'm an educator in digital artists. I live in Atlanta, where I'm an instructor at the Art Institute of Atlanta and an adjunct professor at the Kennesaw State University. I also am an adjunct at Southern New Hampshire University Online School. As an educator, I teach courses in 2D and 3D design and animation. Outside of teaching, I'm a contract artist for companies such as Roblox, Simon Schuster, and Disney World Publishing, where at Simon Schuster and Disney World Publishing, I actually do illustrations for book covers as well as other graphical content. I received my Master's of Fine Art from Savannah College of Design. I'm not originally from Atlanta. I'm originally from Massachusetts. I was born in Massachusetts and grew up in New England. After graduating from high school and working up there, just basically, as anyone that gets out of high school, just odd jobs, I decided to go to college in Arkansas, where I graduated from Harding University with a bachelor's degree in fine art as well as English. And then after that, my wife and I moved to Atlanta, where I worked as a technical writer as well as a graphic artist. And then eventually, after several years of doing that, I got my master's degree from Savannah College of Art and Design. And then after that, moved back to Atlanta and continue doing freelance work and as well as computer digital artwork and then eventually decided to become a college professor, and that kind of leads us to where we are here today. What I want to talk about next is the Video Star program. It's one of those programs that's not open to the general public. It is a selective group, and there are some rules and requirements regarding the program. Just like the UCG program, which is currently open for submissions, you can actually apply to the UGC program. Again, that's not a generally open program to the public, but they do allow for applicants to apply, and of course they evaluate based on their criteria. But as it applies to the Roblox Video Star program, Roblox Studio program is a Roblox program which certain YouTubers are part of the Roblox Studios group and are considered top Roblox video content creators. What that means that these are Roblox creators who have YouTube accounts that regularly promote and engage with Roblox content and promote Roblox communities on their sites. Roblox provides video stars with benefits and tools to engage with the fans and build their businesses, which they do. They support their influencers. That's what the video star individuals are called. And in order to not only, shall we say, promote their own sites and their content for Roblox on their YouTube pages, but also to help promote them as well as give them a platform and tools so they can actually reach more people with their content, as well as supporting Roblox at the same time. The Video Star program does have some basic requirements and content. All video content must also be under the Roblox terms of use and Roblox community rules. Video creators are invited to participate in program based on video viewership and audience engagement and meet the following minimum criteria. The minimum criteria that we see here is just kind of the baseline to be considered to be allowed into the program, be considered for the program. They must have 10,000 cumulative Roblox video views, 25,000 average views per Roblox video, and 100,000 followers and subscribers on the channel. And they want to make sure they get the individuals have the most views, and also they're the most engaged and inside the Roblox community. So there is a benchmark to reach, but most, if you ever go on YouTube and look at some of the Roblox influencers and their pages, they have huge followings and they're quite engaged in the Roblox community. The program is only available for content creators who create videos in the following languages: English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and German. These tend to be the countries or the languages they focus on, though might be open in the future. And go into the next one. The program benefits and perks. In terms of benefits and perks for influencers, Roblox video stars are eligible for tools and resources that help to engage with their fans and build their business, including membership, early access to selected items and features and events, video promotion for Roblox official channels, exclusive video star badges, and earn commissions with experimental star codes. There is a lot of opportunities for also making, shall we say, money, if you will, and also earning a lot of features to one's account. So the benefits and perks, in a lot of ways, help drive the program as well as benefit the influencers as they are making content and also promoting their sites. Applying to the program, the Video Star program is by invitation only. If you meet the criteria above and want to be considered, please send a link to your video channel, which has to be a YouTube channel, and Roblox profile to videostars@roblox.com. It usually takes about 2 weeks from then making a determination if you can apply or be considered for the program. So these are kind of the basic requirements and benefits and perks for the program. It's mostly there to help Roblox promote, of course, its content, and it's but also to help promote the influencers who support Roblox and also the Roblox community. All right, so say that you're allowed into the program. What comes next in terms of creating, shall I say, assets, what we call accessory items. Now, in the program, Roblox influencers don't create characters. They are limited to asset creation. So there are some specific technical requirements outside of artistic considerations. They do have evaluation team when a Roblox influencer submits an item for review. It's reviewed on two different levels. One is the technical as well as the artistic, as well as when the artistic is kind of rolled in both what if, in terms of its appeal, as well as appropriateness. Some items can be rejected if they violate Roblox rules or appropriateness, or is not considered up to quality, if you will. But in terms of the technical side, there is some hard, shall I say, lines of what technical requirements for each accessory item has to be. In terms of the model itself, the model could be a single mesh, or it could be made of multiple parts, but it must be 12,000 vertexes in 4,000 triangles. It cannot exceed this limit. And the reason why is because Studio, the Roblox system, will not allow any accessory item to go over this vertex in triangle count. In terms of layout, it's pretty much a standard UV layout. It's again, you want to practice good UV layouts, shall I say, management and skill sets. You don't want to have overlapping UVs unless you're making one side of the other object a duplicate. But all UV layouts in the end will be based on a 256 by 256 texture sheet that has to be a PNG format. Most of the times, if we do have any problems with UV layout, it will show up actually in Studio, not so much in, say, the testing level, but when it actually gets loaded up to the actual platform. So it's always good to make sure that you have standard UV skills and management for your item. Attachment points and bounding box area requirements. All accessory items are categorized, and when we get into the actual demo here, I'll point that out. They are categorized based on their attachment points, be a hat, front of the face, body bag for a backpack, for example, and also the bounding box that goes for that attachment point. What that means that is, say you have a hat on the head, it needs to, of course, attach to that attachment point, but the hat itself, in terms of its size, cannot exceed the bounding box for that attachment point. And so all accessory items that are applied to a certain attachment point have to be within the bounding box for that attachment point. The Roblox file that is exported out that then eventually is evaluated and loaded to the platform is that of an RBMX file. That is the only file we have for accessory items. So when we get to, and kind of going a little bit faster, I'll try to slow down a little bit. When we get to the demonstration here, it doesn't really matter if you use 3D Studio Max or Blender in terms of the 3D application. In the end, the model that gets brought into the testing area to be fitted and tested out can be an FBX or an OBJ file. Again, it has to meet these certain requirements, as I point out here. I find that most of the influencers, based on probably just financial reasons, use a pipeline process like Blender and Photoshop, or they might use like Maya and Photoshop, or Maya and Substance Painter, or 3D Studio Max and Photoshop and Substance Painter, or they might replace Photoshop with GIMP, for example. But in the end, it doesn't really matter the 3D application for the creation of the actual object, or multiple objects that would be combined together as one mesh, or the program that actually will do the texture mapping or texture painting. In the end, it's the making sure that you follow certain basic requirements, as well as staying within a certain appropriate guidelines for aesthetic reasons. So what I would like to do here in just a second is kind of point out what the demonstration will be. So I'm going to bring up a 3D application here in a minute and talk about how a certain asset object inside the 3D application in terms of these requirements that you see here, vertex count, triangle, UV layout, and also I'll bring up like Photoshop to talk about the texture size and format, and then go through and do an export of the object and bring it into the studio to show you how the fitting and how the packaging will be done for such an accessory item, and also the bounding box, how that is tested out to determine that an object is fitting inside of the box, and then also how to save out the file. This is a standard procedure that most influencers will go through in terms of getting their object out of a 3D application into the actual testing area as for the packaging. And so I'd like to go through that in just a second. So as you can see here, we're going to go through these requirements as well as the demonstration inside Roblox Studio in terms of the packaging and creation. So at this time, I'm going to switch over to Maya. So just give me a second here. And I'm a little new with Discord. So in terms of the screen, so I'm going to try to switch this over. Just be a second. I'm going to shut down this right here. There we go. And here we are. Can you guys see that? Okay, good. So I did it. Yay! Yeah, didn't think I was going to get there. So just give me a second on this one. All right. So I'm using Maya here for this demonstration. So I brought up a UGC item. This is a face mask. In terms of the modeling, how this was actually done, this was modeled in Maya. And as you can see here, it is within the 1200 vertex count and well 4000 triangle count. The item was also exported out, the base shape, and some artists will actually use different applications like Mudbox and ZBrush to create their items. Like in terms of what I did to create this, I actually brought the low polygon versions of this from Maya into ZBrush, and where I sculpted out different aspects of the mask and as well as the teeth. Then I brought it back into Maya and I actually retoppled a lot of it and to get more of a unique look. And then after I retoppled it and UV mapped it, I brought it into Substance Painter and then did the texture painting. That's probably a little bit more than what an average influencer video star will do, but it's not unheard of to actually see some video star applicants creating phenomenal pieces using such pipelines like going from a 3D application to a sculpting program, Maya or ZBrush, and say Mudbox, as well as using Substance Painter for the texture mapping. In terms of objects, it can be one single piece or it can be multiple pieces. I'm going to make a duplicate of this. And I'm just going to go to here, mesh, and say separate. And so you can see here, objects can be separate parts as well as one single piece. The end goal is just to make sure that the object, when it gets exported out of a 3D application, is combined for that exportation. In terms of the UV mapping, and I'll bring this up here. The UV mapping, and you can see here, I'm actually duplicating my UVs because both sides are symmetrical. The model is fairly symmetrical. You want to practice good UV mapping in terms of what we call size relationship to texture, importance, or resolution. So one of the things that kind of will get you sometimes in terms of having low res quality textures within the, shall we say, when you bring it in to test it out in studio or even upload it to the platform, is that you want to make sure that your textures are 256 by 256 in PNG format, but you want to make sure that your UVs are a fairly big size, especially if you're trying to show a lot of detail. As we know, basic UV mapping, that the size of the UV, in this case here, the mass is the most important. So the UVs are large in order to make sure that the textures read fairly clean and sharp within the actual editor as well as online. Because if not, with that 256 by 256 resolution quality, they can look very poor, pixelated. So outside of that, you want to make sure that your textures fit within the UV area. There is really no schematic in terms like this has to be here in terms of a quadrant. In terms of Roblox characters, they do have specific locations for different parts of the body, like arms and legs, where the textures have to be. But when it comes to accessory items, there is no certain rule in terms of location for certain parts of an item within the texture area. The most important thing to do is have proper UV layout, and also think about how UV size and texture resolution together to get the most high quality resolution of the texture on your object based on the 256 by 256 format, because that can be somewhat of a challenge. And when I started making assets for Roblox, this is one of the things I had to learn quickly, is to rethink how I think about UVs in terms of such a texture size of 256 by 256, and how that was critical that I really understand which certain parts had to be minimized in terms of their importance and maximized for the other that were going to be more visible to the viewer. Like I said, it's basic UV layout and standards. The other thing about textures is that there's only one texture. Roblox does not use specular maps or roughness maps, or metal maps or reflective maps. It doesn't use neural maps. It's all straight color map or diffuse map. It is just basically one map that gets used to actually for the colorization or for the texturization of an item. So it's actually extremely important that you understand how the textures work in terms of their quality at such a low resolution, and also the importance of the UVs. That's why I choose Substance Painter when I actually do my texture mapping, because I know that in Substance Painter I can kick out textures at a fairly low resolution, and at the same time combine it with proper UV mapping and get a fairly decent quality. And it works fairly well with that type of pipeline process. In terms of objects and how they are exported out, you'll notice in my scene I actually have the standard avatars from the actual testing area for Roblox. And what I did is I actually exported out the models from the testing area and brought them into the 3D application here in Maya, and just set them up as they would appear actually inside the testing area. That way, when I actually fit or model a asset for, say, if it's going to be a backpack, or if it's going to be shoulder guards, or it's going to be a hat, or it's going to be chest armor, I can actually model and fit it around a particular avatar. Say if I want to use the classic, or if I was going to make a certain hairpiece for the woman, or a backpack for one of these other avatars, I can actually model it around that and fit it to one of those avatar types. So I find it's actually beneficial that if you do make UGC items, Roblox, be it for a regular GC program or stars, that it's good to make sure that you have some working avatars within your 3D application, and to actually fit and create your items around. So in this case here, the way that I bring an object into the actual testing area for fitting and packaging is that I'll actually line it up with the avatar that I'm actually going to work with. So in this case here is the classic one, and for the exportation. So there are a couple of things I always want to check before I export it out. Again, I want to make sure that it is within the vertex in triangle range. That actually here has, sorry about that. It has its UVs are set up and out, and also it has this texture applied to it. When you export out an object, it's actually good to export out the object in the same location as the texture. It doesn't really matter if it's an OBJ or FBX. I will usually make a separate folder for the item and make sure that the FBX or OBJ that I export out is in the same location as the texture file, so everything is actually attached. The reason why I do that is because Roblox Studio, when I go to import it into the testing area, will try to locate the actual texture that's associated with the item. So it's good to have them in the same location. I find that FBX format works better than OBJ for the sheer reasons of smoothing groups. Some items you want to apply smoothing groups between that of hard or soft, and FBX is a little bit better for that, so you can actually play with the features in the FBX to determine that. But OBJ does it as well, so it doesn't, in some cases, some people might not see the difference, but I prefer FBX over OBJ when I export it out to Roblox Studio. So the exportation is fairly easy. You want to make sure that the object is fitted where you want it. Now, it might not show exactly in the same location as the avatars, which you'll see here in a minute, but it'll be around the same area, if not in the same location. So you can select the object and go up to File, and I'm going to say Export Selection. And so here, I know you can't see it, but I'm going to export it out. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. And it's going to go to my folder, and I'm going to export it out as an FBX. And there we go. And that was it. It's pretty simple. So once you've created the item and have it inside your 3D application, and it's texture mapped within your 3D application, if it's multiple parts, you want to make sure you combine everything and export it out as an FBX or an OBJ. And make sure that the FBX and OBJ are exported into the same folder where the texture map that goes with the item resides. Now, after that, just kind of want to show you what it will look like inside the Roblox now. So I'm going to switch to another screen. So just a second. Oops, sorry about that. And do we see the Roblox? Oh, good. So that's like 2 for 2 now, right? It's pretty good. All right. So one of the things that we give to influencers in order to package and test their items is what's called the accessory testing level. This is something that influencers are given, and so that they can not only bring the items in and package them, they can always test it and everything in terms of, does the bounding box work? Does it fit correctly? Does it attach to the object? Because in a lot of ways, what you'll see here in the testing area is what it's going to look like online, outside of some lighting considerations. So the first thing you want to do is, there's different ways of doing this. So, but one of the best ways is actually right-click on the ground plane, and we're going to say Insert Object. Now, when you say Insert Object, you have different options here you can pick, but the one that you want to select is Mesh Part. Now, when you are creating the mesh part, you can name it. So name it right here. I'm going to call this one Shark _ mask. And then over here in the properties, you'll have something called Mesh ID. Now, this folder here for the Mesh ID is where you go to import in your FBX OBJ. So here, I have one right here. And I'm going to say Open. And it's going to say here, do you want this to show up in the same location as it shows up in, say, Maya? So the interesting thing about, shall I say, the environment of the accessory level here and that of Maya, they're both based on the same unit size. The only difference is that the z-axis is reversed. So if you would say export out any of these avatars and bring them into an application, you'll notice that the direction of the avatar is flipped on the Z in your application. But outside of that, it's the same unit size and setup. I'm going to say yes, and we'll have it import in. Usually it doesn't take this long, so it only happens when you actually do live session. Okay. So it says the server is not available. That's unfortunate. Let me try that again. Sorry about that. Here, let me do this real quick. It's funny, I tested this out like 5 minutes before we started. It's okay, I'll just shut down the studio here if it does it again and back up. All right, let me go back and do something really quick. Yeah, I know you guys can't see this, but I'm going to export it back out again from Maya. I'm just going to do an OBJ this time. There we go.
One of the things I like about this session is not only are we seeing Roblox, but we're also seeing a bunch of good 3D art best practices.
Yeah, and it's sometimes I always tell students it's actually good to see when things don't work because that makes everything more human. Yeah. So I'm just going to shut this down for a second. It probably just needs to be refreshed. It'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Not going anywhere.
While you're doing that, Paul, if you can talk about some of the objects that you think have been most popular in this program, what people really like to buy and put on their characters.
Well, we all know about hats. One of the big things that, again, I'm waiting for, looks like there's a little bit of our server issue with Roblox at the moment. One of the things is that you'll see a lot is hats. Of course, those are always popular pieces, but what I have found out that seems to be some of the more popular pieces. I'm gonna before I actually go forward and bring it back up. I'll talk real as I do this just to test it out before I bring it back up. One of the things that is very popular are backpacks. A lot of influencers will create backpacks, and the reason why they create backpacks is that they'll have basically their name, their logo, their artwork, and on the actual backpacks themselves. Backpacks are very common and very popular for influencers to create. I'm still getting that error message, and I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Didn't have this issue before. And
I guess backpacks are also popular because you're often in that kind of pseudo isometric view where you're pulled back over the shoulder and you see it while you're watching your character do things.
That's right. The other things that are popular outside of backpacks are what we call shoulder pals, or sometimes shoulder pads. So a lot of times influencers will actually make these small little characters that fit on people's shoulders that are actually in a lot of ways based on their identity as well as their persona. And those are extremely popular as well. I'm still trying to bring up the Roblox thing, and I do apologize.
While you're doing work on it, I hope we're not disturbing you.
Oh no, no, you're not. I can chew gum and walk at the same time. So, backpacks and shoulder pals tend to be popular, but then we'll get some really creative stuff. individuals will create items that you wouldn't expect, like everything from a snake wrapped around a neck, for example. I've seen that. I've seen someone, which doesn't always mean they get accepted. Someone made a toilet that actually fits around the waist, and an item like that is usually not accepted in terms of because of what we call appropriateness. But I'll see everything from wings. I've seen everything from vehicles, a wheelchair, which was one of the most interesting pieces I saw. Someone actually had a Roblox character. Of course, the Roblox character stands, but a wheelchair fitted around the character. So some of them are just like your common hats and common, back objects or like shoulder pads or things like that. But you will get some creative pieces. I do apologize. It looks like Roblox is, for some reason, I cannot get this to work at the moment, even though it was working just a little while
Paul,
ago.
let me ask you one more question, then we'll move you into
Sure.
the general voice channel. And if you get it working, you can also
Yeah.
show it there. You share screen there. One last question. Tim Johnson, who is setting up his own UGC program, asking, this program, since it's invitation only, do you still moderate the UGC?
No, I don't think so. They have strict rules on things in terms of moderation. I think it's only open in terms of a select group or people or select people, but it is kind of still in its infancy. So it does. I would say that just from my basic knowledge, that would not be the case. But you can reach out to Roblox and ask that question.
All right. Thank you very much, Paul.
Yeah, I just right now Roblox is giving me a connection issue. It looks like Roblox is down, so I cannot actually get this to work at the moment.
Jump into the regular voice channel, and people can bring more questions there.
Sure.
And,
yeah, no problem.
We will transition to our next session.
Yeah, I do apologize. I wanted to actually get the demonstration. I'm so sorry. Okay. That's okay. I'll switch over to there. Thank you.
And for the rest of you, gameplay design tectonics, mapping how we interact with game design. And Simon will be here to answer your questions.